Hello, and welcome everyone to the IIBEC 2020 Awards Recognition event. I'm IIBEC past president Bob Card, and I'm pleased to join you here today. This format is somewhat unorthodox, but then just about everything this year has been, so here we are. Thank you for joining us today to help recognize these special people who have contributed so much to our industry. And special thanks to Sika Corporation for sponsoring this event. Previously called simply the Outstanding Educator Award, with the recent passing of longtime member Josh Summers, we've renamed this award in honor of Josh's exceptional contributions to IIBEC's educational programs. I'd like to invite Kami Faramanpour of Building Technology Consultants to share about Josh and his outsized influence on our organization.
Good afternoon. I want to tell you a little bit about Josh Summers. Josh Summers was the chair of the IIBEC Education Committee from 2010 through 2020. Prior to that, he served on the committee as a member. In addition to his leadership as the chair of the Education Committee, Josh volunteered countless hours to develop new courses for IIBEC Education Committee. They included the concrete exterior wall course and the masonry course. In addition to that, Josh volunteered his time to go around the country and teach those courses. His contributions to the IIBEC education program won him the Outstanding Educator Award in 2017. Josh was a well-regarded structural engineer. He earned the respect of his peers because of his knowledge, integrity, and professionalism. He took pride in what he did and everything he did. Nothing short of a perfect work product was good enough for Josh. He wanted it to be always perfect. And he instilled those values in everybody he worked with. As a person, Josh was a humble and kind soul. He didn't speak unless he had something profound or really funny to say. He was always happy to let other people take credit for his hard work. He allowed the volunteers and the younger staff to shine and to show their talents. His calm and positive demeanor taught us all how to deal with adverse situations. I had the honor of knowing Josh for over 20 years. And have him as my business partner for 15 of those 20 years. Our entire team at BTC was fortunate to have him as a colleague, friend, and co-worker. We always had him to go to for a calm and collected and reasonable point of view. Although Josh was taken too early from us, we were all fortunate to have him in our lives for as long as we did. And I think our industry is better off today because of his contributions to IIBEC and other professional organizations. In 2013, Josh worked very hard to introduce the Outstanding Educator Award at IIBEC. He did that to recognize the contributions of those educators who excelled at presenting at RCI and IBEC education courses. I can't think of a better way to honor his memory than to rename the Outstanding Educator Award the Joshua J. Summers Award. Thank you.
This year's recipient of the first Joshua J. Summers Outstanding Educator Award is Jerry Avendroth. Congratulations, Jerry, and thank you for your contributions to our education program. In 1995, IBEC lost one of its most popular and dedicated members, Richard Dick Horowitz. Dick was a driving force behind the association's RRC exam and its technical journal, what is now IBEC Interface magazine. In 1996, the Institute named an award after its favorite wordsmith and presented it for the best technical article published in IBEC Interface for the previous year. This year, for their article entitled Thermal Enhancements for Aluminum Frame Curtain Walls, a Practical Perspective and Some Non-Thermal Considerations, the Horowitz Award is presented to Mary Arnson and Derek McCowan. Congratulations to both of you, and thank you for your contribution. The Outstanding IBEC Affiliated Chapter Award Program was created in 2016 by the IBEC Chapter Development Committee to help guide chapters to greater success. This competition recognizes affiliate chapters who in the past year have consistently raised the bar in terms of leadership, education, and service to our members. Total points earned determine an award level of bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. We'll start out with the bronze level award. This year, the IBEC Delaware Valley chapter is the recipient of a bronze level award. Congratulations to you all. For the gold level, we don't have any silver level award recipients this year, so we're going to jump straight to gold. For the gold level awards this year, we have the IBEC Carolinas chapter. Congratulations. We also have the IBEC Central Texas chapter. Congratulations to you all this year. The IBEC Colorado chapter is a gold level award winner. Congratulations, Coloradans. The IBEC Mid-Atlantic chapter is a gold level award winner. Congratulations, Mid-Atlantic chapter. Congratulations to the IBEC Mid-South chapter. The IBEC Northern California chapter, my neighbors to the south, congratulations to you all on a gold level award this year. The IBEC Ohio Valley chapter, congratulations to you all. The IBEC Puget Sound chapter, my homies, congratulations, friends. The IBEC Virginia chapter is a gold level award winner this year. Congratulations to you all, Virginia chapter members. The IBEC Western Canada chapter, my neighbors to the north, congratulations, Western Canadians, well done. And the Platinum level award recipients this year, I'm not very good at drum rolls, but we'll start out with the Chicago area chapter. Congratulations, Chicagoland chapter members. The IBEC Georgia chapter is a Platinum Award winner this year. Congratulations to you all. The IBEC Great Lakes chapter wins a Platinum chapter award this year. Congratulations, Great Lakes chapter members. The IBEC North Texas chapter, congratulations to you all in North Texas. And my other home chapter, the IBEC Portland chapter, Platinum Award winner this year. Congratulations, Portlanders. The IBEC Southern California chapter is a Platinum Award winner this year. SoCal chapter, good on you. And the IBEC Southern Ontario chapter, representing Eastern Canada. Congratulations, Southern Ontarians. An award was created in 2008 in honor of our association's pioneer and its first executive director, William C. Carell. This award is presented to those who have demonstrated a high degree of professionalism, leadership, ethics, unselfish dedication, and/or significant contribution to the growth and recognition of IIBEC. I am pleased that our first William C. Carell Award winner is none other than our own Karen McElroy. Congratulations, Karen, and well deserved. The second recipient this year of the Carell Award, Brian Rick Craig. Rick was an amazing herder of cats and bringing our manual of practice update into the finish line. Rick, well done and congratulations. The Emerging Professionals Award of Excellence was created in 2014 and is given to a professional who has shown exceptional leadership and professionalism, contributing to the building and closure industry at an early stage in his or her career. This year's recipient, Jordan Crum from the Pacific Northwest. Congratulations, Jordan. The Outstanding Volunteer Award is given to those who've made significant contributions to IBEC during the past year. This year's recipients are Stephen Hentz and Douglas Stevie. Thank you, gentlemen, for all you do. Love the envelope, Douglas. In 2002, the Board of Directors created the Michael DeFrancesco Volunteer of the Year Award in honor of the late Michael DeFrancesco, whose enthusiasm, dedication to the association, and general zest for life were an inspiration to all who knew him. This year's recipient of the Michael DeFrancesco Volunteer of the Year Award is Kenrick Hartman. Congratulations, Kenrick, and thank you for your contributions. We want to honor outgoing Region Director Blair Baxter, the recent Director of Region 6, Western Canada. Blair, I hope you're enjoying retirement and hope that motorhome doesn't break down on you anyplace. The Lifetime Achievement Award. This was presented for the first time in 2011 and is awarded to those individuals who provided a lifetime of service and contributions to the success of the association. This year, we're proud to award IBEC's most prestigious honor to two individuals who have proved to be defining examples of this. The first is longtime member and staff support Walt Rossiter Jr. A few minutes won't suffice, but I'd like to invite Walt to provide some thoughts.
Good afternoon. Imagine my surprise when Bob Card called a few weeks ago to tell me that I was to be a recipient of a Lifetime Achievement Award at this year's video ceremony. I was pleased and humbled. I wish to thank IBEC immensely for believing that I was worthy. It is not often that one receives a Lifetime Achievement Award from an association that one has known for many years, which makes it very special. Let me explain. In 1970, I was hired into building research at the then National Bureau of Standards, or NBS, by a gentleman named Bill Cullen. He was considered at the time to be the Dean of U.S. roofing researchers from the 1950s into the 1970s. A few years after my hiring, an NBS colleague who was in the know told me that Bill earmarked me to replace him conducting roofing research. I do not know the accuracy of that statement, but experientially, that is what happened. At the time, the roofing industry was undergoing one of the most rapid alterations, some would say revolutionary, in the history of the construction industry. I am, of course, speaking of the replacement of traditional BUR systems with single-ply and modified bitumen roofing. Of importance here is that the new systems were introduced into the marketplace without the benefit of sound standards to assist in their selection and use by roofing practitioners. For better or worse, NBS asked that I become involved in the national demand to develop the needed standards. In 1982, I joined ASTM Committee D08 on roofing and waterproofing. There was much to be done. The 1982 date is important because it was only a year later that RCI was born. NBS had historically cooperated with industry associations such as ARMA and NRCA in conducting its roofing research and standards development programs. The birth of RCI gave me opportunity to have the skills and talents of another association to assist us. I like to think that I took advantage of it. to the mutual benefit of both organizations. As time passed, RCI-NBS interactions grew significantly. Prime examples include RCI members assisting with field and laboratory research, RCI management visiting NBS to discuss the needs for standards in research, and NBS participating in RCI conventions and related events. The bottom line was that we both grew together. I was pleased to see RCI, now IBEC, flourish. Perhaps the crowning achievement was when I retired from NBS, then NIST. Soon after, I found myself talking with Jim Birdsong about joining IBEC to assist with technical services. Having been closely connected to IBEC since its formative days, this Lifetime Achievement Award has much meaning to me. I will cherish it always, particularly because of what it represents, my career-long association with IBEC and the friendships that I have made with IBEC members and staff. Thank you again, IBEC, for the confidence conviction that I was deserving.
The second recipient is Richard Dick Cannon, and I'd like to offer him a few moments to respond to receiving his award as well.
Hello, I'm Dick Cannon. I want to extend my appreciation to the Board of Directors of IIBEC for bestowing upon me this year the prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award along with Walt Rossiter. I know that Walt is just as thrilled as I am and surprised. I think he's probably worked harder than I have. I know he's worked longer than I have, but I'm better looking, so maybe I get it a little bit before he does. This really is an honor. I've been in business since 1983 and was in roof consulting before that. And I don't know that I ever really dreamed of receiving this, but I may have hoped for it once or twice. I wanted to convey my thanks to some people that were influential in my career. I would not be the recipient of this award today without the influence of my loving Christian parents, Penny and David Cannon, and my stepmother Ann, my mentor brother David, and my inspirational stepbrother John. In junior high school, one of my teachers influenced me specifically when she told me, Dick, you need to get up off your butt and you need to start working harder and do better. And I took that very seriously. Later, when I started into my professional career, I was influenced by several people. First, Lloyd Peterson in Anchorage, Alaska with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, where I was stationed at Fort Richardson. Later, Tom Moore, another civilian at Fort Benning, Georgia that I worked with. After that, Wallace Story and Randy Gwynn with Milliken and Company. What mentors, what inspirations in my professional life and my personal life. All of these people. But the person that influenced me the most was my wife, Connie. We've been married 53 years. She gets the accolades for that. I may get an endurance record, but she gets the Compassion Award. I love that lady, and she's been my life partner and my business partner for so long. We had two great children together, our son Shane and our daughter Mandy. They both worked with us in our business. They influenced us in our business by the way that they both behaved and that we wanted to do better for them. And they are now blessing us with great-grandchildren, 5. So I want to say a thank you to my family, but finally I want to say thank you to the most influential thing in my life, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I would not be where I am today. I wouldn't have made it through many of the things that I did on my way to today. And if I breathe my last breath tonight, I'll be happy knowing that I have served the best. So again, to IIBEC board, thank you. To you individuals that are in the roof consulting or in the building enclosure consulting business, strive for the best, do the best that you can, never give up, and try to do what I have done my entire life, is to maintain your integrity above all. And with that, I'll end it like Paul Harvey used to. Good day, and God bless.
During 2019, 31 individuals achieved the status of 25 years of membership with IIBEC. Just a note, some of our long-standing members who are listed on this screen and the subsequent screens may have noticed that you've not yet received your longevity pins. These will be mailed out to recipients as soon as IIBEC staff are settled into their new offices in Raleigh, which is coming up shortly. Also during 2019, a group of 19 individuals achieved the status of 30 years of membership with IIBEC. They're listed on the screen here today. Congratulations to every one of you. And we'd now like to recognize 3 individuals who've reached the very special benchmark of 35 years with IIBEC: Douglas Cardoza, Roger Staley, and Robert Martin. 35 years is a long time to do a thing. Congratulations and well done. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I certainly hope that we're able to gather together again soon in the near future to learn, share, and celebrate all that our association offers. Until then, cheers, y'all. Hello and welcome back. Through the miracle of modern technology, I have been magically transported to the tasteful yet modest new offices of IIBEC in beautiful downtown Raleigh. You can't see it through the window there because, well, physics. But I'm pleased to be here. I'm pleased to be participating in this awards recognition event. This is, I'm going to be honest here, this is one of my favorite parts of our annual convention, which we missed this year. And so I'm just really delighted that we get to do this, recognize people for their contributions and for their efforts. And I'm grateful for you being here and joining us today. We have another piece here that's a special part of our presentation today, a keynote speaker, Dr. Sandra Thiederman. As our organization continues to grow with the mission of enhancing building envelope industry worldwide, and it is worldwide now, it's more important than ever to recognize where we can play a part in increasing inclusiveness in the industry, not just for today's consultants, but to set the foundation for future generations of leaders. In the spirit of this mission, we're privileged to have Dr. Sandra Thiederman with us today presenting Unconscious Bias, How to Beat the Bias That Gets in Your Way. A little background, Dr. Thiederman has 25 years of experience as a speaker, trainer, and author on the topics of bias reduction and workplace inclusion. Since receiving her doctorate from UCLA in cross-cultural studies, she's helped professionals in Fortune 500 companies, public sector organizations, and dozens of associations find ways to work more comfortably and effectively in an increasingly diverse environment. Dr. Thiederman has served on the Diversity Cabinet for the American Red Cross, is an expert panelist for the Global Diversity and Inclusion Benchmarks, and has been widely featured in the media, including mentioned in the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and the New York Times. She is the author of 6 books, including the Diversity and Inclusion Handbook and 3 Keys for Defeating Unconscious Bias: Watch, Think, Act. In her spare time, which it sounds like she may not have a lot of, Sandra applies her interest in diversity in a very practical way. She volunteers as a puppy raiser for an organization called Canine Companions for Independence. Having just completed raising her 12th dog for the organization, her hope is that it will one day become a life-changing assistance dog to a person with a disability. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Sandra Thiederman.
Thanks, Bob, so much. Let me get there we go. Let's just hope the dog doesn't walk in the room as we are speaking, okay? I understand several of us have that kind of a problem. You know, I'll tell you, I've been eavesdropping. I've been sitting here listening to the awards ceremony, and I was really touched. I mean, what a bunch of nice people. It sounds like you've got such a great community. I was sort of wishing we had one of those, I don't know how they do it these days with football games, right? Where, you know, there's a touchdown and then it's like this weird sound that comes off of the audience that isn't there. It would have been kind of neat to have that kind of thing going on. Well deserved by many. So congratulations to all of you. I'm of course a newcomer to your industry. To be honest with you, building enclosure is a concept that needed to be explained to me. Brian's been so lovely helping me get up to speed, as has the diversity task force. So that's been gratifying. But in the course of all that, helping me understand where you are professionally and where you are with respect to this inclusion and diversity material, I've learned a little bit about what you do. And you do important work. I am realizing is foundational to the rest of us living safe and comfortable lives. So good to meet you all. We're going to be together here until about 5 minutes after the hour, and then we'll have about 10 minutes for questions. And I'm saying to everyone that if any of you have questions that you don't think of till later, and you'd like to get in touch with me, I'm saying to the association, go ahead and give them my contact information and maybe we can talk, because some of this stuff gets just a little bit complicated and can be new to many of you. So what are we up to here? I think of this as a journey, right? I'm thinking of this defeating of bias, we'll define it in just a minute, as a journey that we're all on. And it's an internal journey and kind of an external one too, because it has to do with our colleagues and the people with whom we work. Fundamentally, I'm going to help you discover techniques for defeating the biases that prevent us from functioning most successfully. So whether that's as an individual person, whether that's as a person who is having contact with with contractors or with workers or with potential customers, whatever it is, whatever that thing is that you do, I think you'll see that this can help us all be better. And I know that I've needed this material too. So here's the route on our journey. We're going to start off and spend a few minutes on the basics of bias. What is this darn thing I'm talking about? How does it work within the brain? Some interesting stuff there. And why do we do it? And that's maybe one of the most important questions that I'm going to be able to answer. Secondly, let's take a quick look at the business case. And I put business here in quotes because when I say business, I'm thinking of it broadly, like how does it impact your ability to manage people? How does it impact your ability to relate effectively to all the different types of folks that you come in contact in your consulting work? And I realize that's many different things. So we'll look at it from a couple of different aspects. Then we're going to talk about bias awareness, which I think is kind of a kick. Going to give you a tool that you can use, that I use all the time, sometimes to my dismay, because I find that I have biases after all these years doing what I do. And finally, final destination, let's look at a couple of techniques for defeating bias and give you stuff that you can really get started on. Now, please don't forget this. Having Bias does not make us bad people. You're good people, that's obvious. And it's what we do about them that matters. It's do we make an effort to identify them? Do we work hard to make sure they don't influence the decisions that we make or how we treat people? Do they keep us, do we stop ourselves and not allow ourselves to look down on people? because of the group to which they belong, all that kind of stuff. But that fundamental thing of having a bias is something that everyone has, and I'm not going to equivocate on that, everyone, and that people of all groups have. This is not a white person thing. This is not a black person thing. This is not a man's thing or a woman's thing or gay or straight. We've all got them, okay? And again, they don't make us bad people. Now, what we do with them, people that do blatant things, say horrible things to people, kind of, okay, fine, that's not cool. But fundamentally, it doesn't make us evil. And the reason I'm going so heavy-handed on that is I'm going to be asking you, I don't mean in real time here so you can relax, but give you tools to look at your biases. And if I keep telling you it makes you bad to have one, well, why would you look at one? I wouldn't. So be comfortable going there. I think you'll find it interesting. So our first destination, let's take a look at the basics. What is a bias? If we had a little more time, I'd get you guys in on this, you men and women in on this. I'd have you do a chat on this or speak up, and I'd ask you, what phrases or words would you use in a definition of bias as it pertains to this general issue of diversity and racism and all the rest of it? And I would predict you'd come pretty close. The definition that I use is what you see in front of you. A bias is an inflexible, hang on to that, I'll come back to it, positive or negative, conscious or unconscious belief about a particular category of people. So let me break that down a little bit. Inflexible. This is a belief that you apply always when you encounter someone from particular groups. It's not what we might call a flexible generality or a working generality. It's not when you learn something about another culture and you learn that and you say, well, yeah, it does apply to some people. I'm, by the way, in San Diego here. Oh, and I meant to congratulate at the beginning. Congratulations, SoCal chapter. I'm sitting here in San Diego, so congrats. I perked up when I heard that. And I'm sitting here. There's beliefs about what we're like here. And they run like, yeah, some Southern Californians are beachy, right? Oh, we're outdoorsy. Yeah, a bunch of us are. That's why we moved here, right? I'm not. I happen not to be. I don't even own a bathing suit. The only time I go to the beach is if it's raining, and now you think I'm nuts. But hopefully you can hang in the presentation with me anyway, despite my nutsness. And so that working generality, some of us, you know, many of us even, is fine. But when it's the first thought that pops into your brain when you meet someone different from yourself and you won't change it, regardless of what you see as you get to know them as an individual. That's the difference, flexible versus working. Now, something else about this definition that might really surprise you. Look at that word positive. Biases are never okay, right? They're never okay because they keep us from seeing people accurately and treating them with respect because we've got this inflexible belief we apply to them. But the content of that belief sometimes can be a positive characteristic. All women are nurturing. Americans are hardworking. You know, Asians are good at math, right? Black men are athletic, right? Those are good things to be. You know, I fall in a couple of those categories, others I don't. They're good things to be. But the reason they're still not okay is they keep us from seeing the person for who they are. And also, sometimes they're kind of associated with something else, like all women are nurturing and good at building relationships. But what can kind of go with that in our thinking is that, but they won't be authoritarian enough to be good leaders. See kind of how that, you're kind of aware of it, that can kind of smudge together in your brain. All Black men are athletic. Well, that's a good thing to be, and it isn't all Black men, of course. But so you go, well, that's a good thing to do. Well, it's kind of linked to, well, what are the other things they can't do? See what I'm getting at? So as I go through this, keep an eye on this definition: an inflexible, positive or negative, conscious or unconscious belief about a particular category of people. Why do we have these? Well, fundamentally, we are trying to control the universe. The universe, and kind of especially these days, right? Things are changing. The virus is here. What's safe? What isn't safe? What does the future hold? When will I be able to get back on the work site? What's going to happen to my consultancy? Is it going to weaken because of this? What's all this mean? There's the political climate too, which is kind of just creating this mush of stuff. And it makes us want to control the uncontrollable. Well, there's something else that feeds into that, and that's magical thinking, okay? Superstition. I believe that magical thinking, designed to help us predict the unpredictable, control the uncontrollable, is the same mechanism, the same drive in the primitive parts of our brain that makes us have biases, because our biases are doing that. Our biases are saying, I know what you're like, and I know how you're going to be in the future. Or I know what you're like, so I know how to persuade you to do a better job on the job site. I know how to persuade you to use me. All of those things, they are ways of controlling. Now, again, if we could have more contact, I would ask you, if we were together, to raise your hand if you have any superstitious beliefs. And what usually happens in person is about a third of the group will raise their hand. And then after a while, I say, okay, what beliefs do you have? And I make them admit them and all that. And then a few others say, well, wait a minute, hang on a second. I do have that favorite, I don't know anything about golf, by the way, but a tee that I always make sure I take with me to my golf game, or my shirt that I wear, or my socks, or perhaps it's a special pair of underwear. I don't know. And they start to come out. And I kind of predict that you're sitting there thinking that, oh gosh, I've got these too. I'm not saying we really believe them. It's not like we're flat out, I believe it, and if I don't do it, I'm going to go crazy. But it's in the back of our brains. And it's that same almost irrational but very human thing that causes us to also want to create these inflexible ideas about what people are like, so we feel more secure. It's human. Doesn't make us bad people, but it's real, and we've all got them. And I'll bet most of you, when you have a candle on a birthday cake, even though you think it's stupid and primitive, and they ask you to make a wish, you go ahead and make a wish. I'm just saying. So I'd love to know if you do that. So let's go on to our second destination, business case. Dividing these up into the object of the bias. The object of the bias is the individual about whom we have the bias, or maybe that's us, right? I mean, as white people, there's lots of biases, inflexible beliefs about us. There's lots of inflexible beliefs about white men, and they're no good. They're no less bad as biases in all directions, because they keep people from seeing you for who you are. And I don't put the target here. I get tempted to kind of say the target of the bias, but I don't say that because of the fact that we aren't it's not like we're going, oh, I shall now have a bias about you, and I'm going to send it towards you, right? We don't do that. It's way more kind of automatic than that. It just happens to be the bias that is directed at them. So I think it's obvious. Biases reduce opportunities for success. And whether it's getting clients, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's having managers that work with you effectively. And sometimes it's because of direct discrimination and racism. Other times it's because of more subtle things, like what's called the stereotype threat, in which there is a stereotype in the workplace, and we're scared we're going to live up to it. We're scared, we're going to conform to it, so we go passive and we don't show the best we are because we're afraid of failing. That kind of all that stuff. We won't go through that. We could do that maybe another time, but it's, you know, it generally, it's like just not having those kind of opportunities. And when I look at some of the material that you've authored and about this issue of racism and diversity inclusion, they're really cool, and they really make me know that you get this slide, right? Because like in here, I'm reading what, you know, a better future for IIBEC. It's about giving people the best chances they can have. A place, I put 4 stars by this, I'll show it to you. A place where everyone has the chance to succeed. That's what much of this is all about. But also, the holder of the bias. Bias compromises my ability, all of us who have biases, really to make successful decisions, whether they're pertinent to a client or a worker, construction worker, to a contractor, whatever, that keep us from doing that. Let me share with you a study. I know you're going to go, wait a minute, what are we doing in France at a grocery store? I know that, but the principle here is really, really important. I keep checking time here, by the way. Harvard University did a study of managers at a French grocery store chain. Why France? Why a chain? I don't know. The first step in that study was to test the managers for bias. And there are online tests that, you know, we could go into another time, but online tests that give us clues to whether or not we've got biases. And that's the kind of test they did. And what they discovered is a bunch of their managers didn't have biases and a bunch did. And they had a large workforce that was primarily from North Africa. And it was biases against that population that the biased managers had. So they then looked at the performance of those workers when they were working under the 2 different categories of managers. And they were able to do that real effectively because the workers would work under different managers during different shifts and on different days. So they had a variety of data. And what they discovered is that when working under the biased managers, these employees did less well. And they had real concrete things like, how long does it take them to stock a shelf? How long did they keep talking to customers, which was what they wanted? How many sick days were there? How late were they to work and how often? And it was fascinating when they found that it was under the biased managers. But this is where it gets, and then they would shift and be under the other managers and they were fine. But this was so interesting because the type of bias that the biased managers had was not, I hate you because of the group you belong to, or I think you're inferior because of the group you belong to. It was what's called aversive racism, which is a kind of an attitude that I don't hate you, I'm not looking down on you, but I kind of don't want to hang with you. I'm uncomfortable, you're different than me, I don't want to be with you much. So that meant, and if we were together, we'd talk about this easily, they're not talking to them as much. They're not watching what they're doing as much. Therefore, they perform less well. To me, that's just so concrete that this is the way that when we have biases, it does make it harder for us to be effective in what we do. It may not be the aversive, maybe something else, but keep that in mind as part of this general thing that I'm calling the business case. And then let's just look at business success. Biases compromise customer interest and interferes with innovation. Lots of studies done, that customers in many different venues would rather do business with a company or an association that cares about social responsibility in general. And so it's one reason I think so many companies are waking up these days for good reasons, but also for the practical fact that customers are going to pay more attention if they care about social responsibility, which diversity clearly is. But there's another one, innovation. You must require a lot of innovation in your work to constantly be creating better products, learning better how to build them, and the like. What they've discovered is that when you have, and let's make it an association, when you have a group of people that are different in some ways from each other, whether it's grew up in a different part of the country, grew up in a different part of the world, a different gender, sexual orientation, whatever, it doesn't matter, but are different. They are bringing a different point of view to problem solving. And because of that different point of view, there is, and you probably experienced this, a kind of a tension, a kind of a situation that forces you to work harder because they're coming to you with a different idea and you don't completely understand it. So because you don't completely understand it, you have to listen harder, you have to think harder, they have to listen harder and think harder to understand you. And out of that intense effort and synergy comes more innovative ideas. I could sit here for another hour and share the studies with you on that one. Yes, having diversity and inclusion, defeating racism, all of that is the right thing to do, God knows. But it also has a real practical impact on your ability to be successful both individually and as an organization. So let's move on to our next. I have to move the camera so I can see the slide, bias awareness. I have a concept called the first thought process. This is so simple and it works. I would ask you for the next, just for the next 2 weeks, as you go out and about, when you see someone who's different from yourself, notice the first thought that pops into your brain. That's all. Notice it. Just notice it. What assumption do you make about someone with an accent on the telephone, about someone wearing a turban, about the color of someone's skin, about the fact that a person might be in a demonstration, a fact that a person clearly has a particular view that you can see that's different from yours? What's the first thought that pops into your brain, the first assumption? There is a chance that that first thought is a bias. We don't know yet. We're going to get there in a second, okay? But I'm asking you to watch. I do it all the time. I notice myself constantly jumping to conclusions, whether it's because of an ID that pops up on my phone that it's from a particular company. I'll go, oh, they're going to be this way. And I have to be so careful because it keeps me from seeing them for who they are. Now, you've had that first thought. You've noticed it. Ask yourself 3 questions about it to find out if it's indeed an inflexible belief. Was that first thought an all statement? In other words, if you meet someone and they remind you of your cousin Joe, and you go, oh, I wonder if they're like Joe, that's not it. If you meet someone and the first thought has that, oh, they're that person, okay, those people, that kind of a feeling, you probably have a bias on your hands. Secondly, have you had a memorable positive or negative experience with this group that you had this thought about? The reason that question's so pertinent is that one place that we learn our biases is through experiences, intense ones. And they can be positive, hence the positive bias, or they can be negative, hence the negative ones. You hired someone, you worked with someone on a particular project from a particular group, they let you down, they suddenly stopped showing up, they were unreasonable, they didn't know their stuff, and it damaged your reputation or something like that, or made you feel bad. That's an intense experience that could create a bias. And so if so, more apt to have a bias. Secondly, ask yourself this question. Would I feel the same way about the significance of this person's behavior or appearance if he or she were from a different group. Real quick example. You're in the grocery store, you're standing in line, you're impatient. You can see ahead of you the clerk who's ringing up the groceries. You notice a couple of things about these groups. This person, they're not very good at their job. They keep making the change wrong. Nothing's automated. They put the bread at the bottom of the bag. They're making mistakes, dropping things, all this stuff. You also notice that this person is of some visible group, right? I don't care what it is. So you got this person of this visible group messing up in the job, and you're impatient. So you think to yourself, oh, why do they hire those people? Okay. Stop for just a second. Play a game. This is internal journey, remember? Switch the person in your head. Switch them to another group. Pretend they're anything different. And then ask yourself, would you still say, why do they hire those people? Or would you then say, why did they hire that person? Which is a reasonable question. If you did change it, bad news, it probably is a bias because you went to that generality right from the start. So get in that habit. Watch that first thought. Ask yourself these questions, and you'll be able to begin to surface these things. Now, another little aside to that, special application. Compare what you first think when encountering someone with what you learn about them later. Begin to notice those thoughts all the time. And if you're in a position where you have the chance to get to know them better, if you're in that position, pay attention to if your opinion changes. The value of this is that through time, you'll see how weak your first responses are. It's to kind of teach you that your first responses are not always going to be right. And by the way, every once in a while, you'll be right. Because these biases come from somewhere, stereotypes come from somewhere, and so know that, and you'll encounter someone, they'll be what you expected, but most of the time, don't let that make you say, oh, I was right, they all are that way. That's just that one person, and maybe a couple of others. And you'll see it, and then a bunch of the time, you won't. Okay, let's go on to our destination number 4, defeating bias. Couple of simple ones, and then one that's a little trickier. I'll go through these simple ones fast. Take a beat. The power of the pause. When you're about to make a decision about a person and what they're like, stop yourself and have a cup of coffee or take a walk around the block. I don't care what it is. And what they've shown through a variety of research, the primitive part of the brain that produces this bias, time often will allow the brain to settle down in a rational place. Give yourself, this is like when our parents used to tell us count to 10 before we get mad. Remember all that? This is what this is, okay? And remember to be particularly vigilant when you are under stress or super busy. That's when we resort to our biases. That's when we need more than any other time to stop and take a beat. Secondly, use logic. Yes, logical part of the brain has the power to reduce all but the most deeply rooted biases. Okay, all but the most creepy, deep-rooted stuff. And do this by asking yourself a couple of questions. Was the source of my bias reliable? Where'd you learn it? Did you learn it from some racist parent or some, one bad experience, or from a teacher? Where'd you learn it from? Was it really systematic? You're practical people. Where did you learn it? And ask yourself, I love this one, how many people do you actually know? Actually know. I don't mean seen in a parking lot, saw on TV, or heard a rumor about. How many people do you actually know who conform to your bias? You may know a few, but It isn't going to be that giant a number. It might seem to be if it's just going by the media or by, you know, rumors that you hear. But ask yourself these two questions. It has a powerful way to weaken the bias. Finally, this is the one that's a little more complicated. Technique number 3, you can defeat bias by identifying common ground through shared kinship groups. Okay, here's the deal. A kinship group is any group that has an identity. I don't care whether it's gardeners. I don't care whether it's roof consultants or exterior wall observers or architects or civil engineers. I don't care. It can be wine lovers and it can be people that are listening to this call. We're a kinship group right now. People who love children, nature, people who are members of IIBEC, people who have a family, people who are spiritual. That's what a kinship group is, all right? Now, here's this principle. Identifying common ground, what we have in common, through shared kinship groups, you'll get an example in a minute, helps defeat bias because the process transforms a them into a new us, okay? I am not for one split moment saying that they become like us, that we become one big group. I am not. I am saying that we form a third group, and it's within that group that the bias healing can take place. Here's my example. So think for just a moment, how many of you are dog lovers? Okay, think about that for a moment. Dog lovers. This is a kinship group, right? We're dog lovers, and I know there's probably dog lovers barking in the back, dogs barking in the background right now. Dog lovers, okay. Then another kinship group are cat lovers, okay? And there's this kind of jokey thing, right, we do between each other. Cat lovers, dog lovers, different ways of, you know, little different ways of living. More have to be an apartment lover, whatever, doesn't matter. You got those two things. And so, I have to put this up. Say I'm a dog lover, okay, got it. This is Tilly. I raised Tilly for Canine Companions for Independence, super cool dog. And this is some random cat. I have no idea. It's cute, but I just found it on the web. Okay, so 2 kinship groups. Look what happens. Look what happens, everybody. Animal lovers is another kinship group. It's superficial, yes. It is with, notice, cat lovers are still cat lovers. Dog lovers are still dog lovers. It's just that we've got this third group now that we're hanging out in. Now, why on earth would that help defeat bias? It reduces bias because the way the brain works, we tend to, when we're in us, to see the people within that us as individuals with unique qualities. And as individuals, they're different. We're hanging in that animal, a bunch of different people. And when we look at someone as a them, we just tend to see them as more alike. There's several reasons and why this is so, but when one is when we're in us, we're hanging together more, right? So we get to know the people as individuals. Also, the way the brain works, when we identify as a group, we bring more neurons to the task of noticing the difference between groups, okay? Also, when these people are in us, I'm going to use the word rubric, the thing that made them different, the characteristic that formed the core of our bias kind of doesn't matter anymore. Fine, you're also a cat lover, that's great. It's because we're in us, and the us is what begins to matter, and that difference becomes minimized. It is valued, it is honored, it continues to exist, but it isn't the main thing that's in our brain. So just a couple of ways that we can begin to create that usness. And I recognize that you're not in a situation where you're working in a big manufacturing plant and everyone's together, but just as leaders and even within the chapters, you know, provide opportunities for people to be together and you yourself that's unhurried, that's cooperative, that focuses on what you share as interaction and shared interests and the big deal, common goals. We're all in this thing together. Common goals begins to create that third group in the middle. But yourself, reach out to people who are different from yourself and bring up subjects that you think there is no way that they would agree with you on. Bring them up. You never know what's going to happen. I have a friend who can't see, hasn't been able to see since the day he was born. He is an expert, and I mean an expert, on baseball. When he's in a workplace, nobody ever asks him to go to a baseball game. Nobody ever asks him, hey, what'd you think about so-and-so last night in the game? They don't do it because it's understandable that they think he doesn't know baseball, but they don't try to find out. You never know what you have in common. So let me just put up this summary slide and let's see if you've got any questions. And also, if you like, go ahead and she'll take a look at, Tara will take a look at the questions. You might mention which of these 10 points you think are the most important. So here we go. Biases don't make us bad people. We've all got them. What we do about them matters. Watch those first thoughts. You'll get in the habit of it. You will. Pause. Give your brain, count to 10. Compare your first thought to your final reality. Was the source of my bias reliable? Really? How did I learn it? How many people do I really know who conform to my bias? Watch for commonalities with people different from yourself. Interact with people who are different. Make an effort. Be alert to the negative impact of bias. That's going to motivate you, keep you motivated. And beware of the revival of bias. We didn't talk about that and how to avoid that, but it's happened. When we get ourselves in new situations, and I know you work in different situations, there's a tendency to sometimes have the biases come back partly because of the stress of the situation. So I really want to thank you. And Tara, do we have any questions coming in?
Hi, Dr. Thiedemann. I'd like to take this moment to direct our attendees to locate the questions box located in your dashboard, generally on the right-hand side of the screen. If you have any questions for Dr. Thiedemann, we'll be happy to read them aloud on screen. As I don't see any coming in, we'll give it just a few seconds and then we'll go ahead and proceed.
Great. And again, Tara, do not hesitate to put anyone in touch with me if they digest this and begin to have any questions. I'm glad to have a call.
Thank you so much. I don't see any coming in, but I will be happy to forward any questions that come in afterwards.
Thanks, everybody, so much. This has been lovely.
In just a moment, we're going to welcome Bob Card back on the screen.
Here I am, and I think I'm unmuted. Hey,
Sorry to interrupt, Bob. Hey, everybody.
Who's this
Scott
info?
Heisley here, and Bob thought he knew everything that was going on today, and he has no clue what's getting ready to happen. But first off, want to be safe?
I have no clue what's going on here. This wing nut is just busting in.
We're not quite 6 feet apart, but we're being safe. Bob did not know what was going on, but I do have something to present to Bob on behalf of the board of directors, the membership, the association as a whole. And I'm going to read this. And it says, in grateful appreciation for your exceptional leadership, Robert D. Card, President, 2019-2020. You can see that. And Bob, Tony, if you're taking pictures, here's one for the book.
Get in here.
Hey. Awesome. Thank you, Bob.
Wow. Thank you, Scott.
I'll let you finish now.
Here's me without my mask. Okay, surprise. Hey, I am thrilled that we could do this today. As I mentioned, this is one of my favorite parts what we do, recognizing excellence, recognizing people's efforts, and recognizing a lifetime of contributions to our industry, and also a lifetime of friendship and fellowship. When I got to make those calls to the folks who were the recipients of our awards, man, that was one of the best days that I've had in this whole long slog through the pandemic. Wow, what a great day to get to call people and let them know that they're recipients of an award. Awesome, awesome day for me. So I'm thrilled to share it with you. I'm thankful for you designating some time today to be here with us. I hope it's inspiring to you to continue being a part of this organization, continue contributing your time and your energy and your efforts. And I welcome you to reach out to my friend Scott, our current president, even though it seems like it's been a couple of years since we were last together, last February or January in real life. It's really only been about a half a year. And Scott, honestly, sometimes finds himself a little bored. So reach out to him and bug him. Love you, Scott. Hey, thanks for joining us. Have a great afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you again sometime. Bye now.